I think that at least some of these people would want an affordable, simple camera. Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto and I'm a photographer. And in this video, I'd like to talk about inexpensive, affordable cameras and are they needed anymore? And again, this topic comes from the comments down below. You guys, you give me endless ideas for video topics. Thanks for that. Anyway, recently I published a video about the Canon R100. It's one of the latest, newest Canon mirrorless cameras and one of the most affordable Canon and one of the most affordable camera compared to any new camera. And I really like the camera, but many of the comments that I got for that video were pretty cold and hard and harsh, and that little Canon camera did not receive much sympathy or empathy. And when I was reading those comments, two things came to my mind. The first thing was that didn't those people who left those negative comments, did they not hear my positive things that I said about that little Canon camera? Because I said quite a few positive things too, and I had a good time with that camera and I really liked the camera. And I was wondering if these commenters simply ignored what I had to say, what positive things I had to say. The second thing that came to my mind was that maybe we don't need these basic, simple, affordable cameras anymore because these phone cameras are so good these days, and most people these days, they start their photography with a phone camera, and if the real dedicated camera that they may buy later, if that camera does not have everything that the phone camera has and some more, maybe that dedicated camera feels like it's not good enough. I admit I'm a bit old school when it comes to photography. But it's because of my background. I'm an old guy already, and I started my photography quite a long time ago, sometime in the 1970s. And back then, photography was quite different from what it is today. A lot has happened after I took my first snapshots sometime in the 1970s. Photography has evolved to something that is almost completely different thing compared to what it was back in the 1970s when we still had film cameras and all that. And also today photography is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. Is that a correct pronunciation? Anyway, photography is everywhere and it's nothing special anymore. Anyway, because I'm old school, I would always pick up a dedicated real camera before my phone camera, and this is one of the best phone cameras. It's the iPhone 14 Pro, but still I would pick even the Canon R100 if my intention was to go out and take pictures. If photography was my priority that time, then I would always pick a real dedicated camera and not my phone camera. However, if I went out and my intention was not to photograph, but if a photo moment then somehow appeared, I'd be happy to use my phone camera for that. But every time, if my primary reason to go out was to take photos, I would always pick a real dedicated camera. But that's only me, and I'm old-fashioned. There are so many young people who were born with a smartphone in their hands. And those people, their concept of photography is probably something very different from my concept of photography. And they might even prefer the ergonomics of a smartphone, and they are happy to use the smartphone, only the smartphone camera, because it's always with them. It's easy to use, easy to share your pictures right away and whatnot. But if these young people, if they get interested in photography beyond everyday snap shooting, there's a good chance that they will want to buy a real dedicated camera. After all, a real dedicated camera like the Canon R100 and other real dedicated cameras, they offer some distinct advantages over a phone camera. They offer things like better ergonomics, better image quality, better overall control over the outcome. You can control your depth of field and your shutter speed and all those things much better than on a phone camera. And I would imagine that these people, young or old, whoever coming from a smartphone camera, that they would want, at least some of them would want an affordable, simple, basic, dedicated camera to learn the basics of photography. After all, you can't learn certain things with a phone camera. And I think a simple basic camera would still be enough for many because it is so different from a smartphone camera. And not everyone is willing to pay, let's say, 2,000-3,000 euros or US dollars for a camera body and something similar amount for a couple of lenses. I don't think everyone is willing to do that. I think that at least some of these people would want an affordable, simple camera, maybe a camera like the R100. Of course, you can always buy second-hand, used cameras, but not everyone is willing to go that way. If you're a newcomer to photography, maybe those used cameras, they feel suspicious. Maybe you just want a new camera, you want the new camera warranty and all the nice things that come with a new camera. And it's brand new, no one has used it before. And expensive cameras tend to be expensive used cameras too, compared to used cheap cameras or cameras that were inexpensive when they were new. So if there are no new affordable cameras, there are also not new and not inexpensive second-hand used cameras available. Of course, those really expensive high-end cameras become affordable at some point in time, but not everyone wants to buy, let's say, 10-year-old used camera. Maybe they want something newer, just because they want something newer. I think there has to be some demand for inexpensive, simple, dedicated cameras, even if people are coming from a smartphone camera that has all the bells and whistles that a smartphone camera can have. I still think that some of those people would want an affordable, basic camera simply because the user experience is so different when you pick up a real camera, the ergonomics and the controls and everything. I don't know, what do you think? Please do leave a comment down below. What do you think? Are cameras like the R100, are they really useless because they are so crippled and they don't have or they don't do all the things that a smartphone camera can do? I don't know. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this little pondering and I hope you had a good time. And if you did, please do consider buying me a cup of coffee. There's a link down below for that if you don't live in Finland. Thank you so much and I'll definitely see you in another video.